This is me. This is my beloved wife, Sylvia. This is Sylvia's idea of sailing. This is my dream of sailing and my hope of circumnavigating the globe as a retirement project in 2029. This is Sylvia's reaction to that idea.
What? You got a quest?
I am on a 6-year quest to convince Sylvia that a circumnavigation is a wonderful adventure, but the clock is ticking, so join me as I search for the perfect yacht that Sylvia will love, and get all your ladies to subscribe and cheer Sylvia on in the comments. Welcome back to Naval Gazing at Camp David. This week we are entering the octagon of large aluminum catamarans with a close look at the Mighty VAAN R6. Today we will 1. Review its specifications, pricing, and layout against 3 similar new vessels. 2. Do a full tour asking what would Sylvia say. 3. Naval gaze at an innovation or technology that just might make life aboard a little easier. 4. Have a look at the used market for 3 to 5-year-old pre-owned comparables. And 5. Give it a Dave score and compare the results with all our previously reviewed yachts. As always, all this fun will be sandwiched between a pairing of wine, in this case, Dutch spirits, and a work of art from the same region as the guest yacht, in an effort to capture the culture and people who gave birth to these wonderful vessels. Waves, wine, art, and ideas. What a civilized way to spend 30 minutes, so let's get going. From high above Vancouver, we head west around the globe all the way to Vietnam and the home of last week's guest yacht at the yards of Corsair Marine. From here, we continue west all the way to the Netherlands on the west coast of the continent and the yards of this week's future yacht, the massive VAAN R6. Finally, we take a quick hop north to the distilleries of this week's pairing, Boomsma Janvier. Some would call it gin, some would argue schnapps, but Janvier it is. Janvier is the original style of gin invented in the Netherlands. It is a softer and sweeter spirit than the more popular London dry style, and ideal for drinking straight. Young refers to the more modern, lighter type of Janvier. It means young as opposed to old. What Janvier is Dutch for juniper. Just because it's juniper dominated, don't go thinking of it as a Dutch gin. Janvier is a clear, botanical, rich, malted, grain-based spirit that can only be made in Holland or Belgium. It is a blend of 2 or more distillates. First, a whiskey-type triple distillate made of corn, wheat, and rye, so-called malt wine. Second, a juniper-infused distillate. A possible third part can consist of malt wine redistilled together with the different botanicals. Essentially, you can think of Janvier as the love child of a marriage between whiskey and gin. People love gin and whiskey, so combining flavors of both is bound to be absolute perfection in a glass, or at least certainly authentic. In 2008, the Dutch government and EU created an official AOC, Appellation d'Origine Control, or for Janvier, which defines exactly what Janvier is and where it can be made. Just as champagne or cognac, Janvier is now protected by law, which means it can be produced only in certain regions, Holland, Belgium, and very specific areas of France and Germany.
How do you pronounce it in Dutch?
Your neighbor.
Jenever. Young Jenever.
Young Jenever.
Young Jenever.
No, young Jenever.
You don't want to pull. No, because it's never just you don't want to waste it. I'll put a liner in a minute. Yeah, I've got it right here. Yes.
Okay, you ready? Here we are.
Young Jenever. Yes.
Cheers. Go easy.
He knows how to drink it.
That's smooth, actually. What do you think?
Beautiful.
Young Jenever.
I haven't had it in 50 years.
Okay, having a look at this beautiful beast. 60 feet long, all aluminum, and a chunk of that aluminum is fully recycled. Obviously, you have the durability you want. She uses mini keels and no dagger boards. You can see the refined styling in even the arch that goes just behind the saloon there in a beautiful brushed aluminum with the engraved VAAN logo in it. You also see that repeated in some of the armrests inside. Really is a beautifully styled vessel with aft helms and conveniences such as boom furling on board. A really, elegant, handsome-looking vessel. Given the technical and international nature of our audience, it only seems right that the sponsor of this week's video is Redux Engineering. Redux Engineering offers manufacturers located in North America, Western Europe, UK, and Australia who currently buy or manufacture key parts domestically a safe, easy, and no-cost risk way to take advantage of the proven 20 to 50% savings that can be realized through high-quality offshore manufacturing. They do this with no upfront costs or consulting fees and only receive remuneration as 20% of the customer verified savings over time. The customer always realizes a substantial net savings. Redux offers domestic manufacturers enhanced supply chain security and found margin that goes straight to the bottom line. Connect with them at reduxengineering.com. Having a look now at the profiles of these vessels, we're looking at the VAAN R6, the Slider 55, which is a hybrid aluminum hull and composite cabin top, the Explocat 52 from the yards of Garcia and, of course, Outremer, and the new, yet-to-be-launched Portofino 52. Looking across the profiles, I've got to say that Slider has done a brilliant job at making an absolutely gorgeous profile. I'd have to say that the R6 is second in my preference. The other two, very nice-looking yachts, just not as dramatic as the Slider 55. Okay, having a quick look across the VAAN range, you've got the R4, R5, R6, and now they're working on the R8, which should be absolutely spectacular. Having a hop down on top of the cabin top here, you can see that distinctive arch there on the VAAN R6 that separates the saloon to the cockpit. Now that depends on your layout, which you'll quickly see. It in some cases separates the saloon from the extended saloon for their liveaboard version. But you can see a lot of beautiful wide deck space there, and they've added in a beautiful front cockpit with full access through the saloon to it. Absolutely, a very livable space here. There's nothing on the rooftop, so it's free for solar and different items like that. So you don't have any sort of sky lounge up there at all. The Slider 55, very interesting, obviously built for a little more speed in the look and width of those hulls. You've got a selection of aft helms in a traditional katana format here. But you can also select to have a single mid-bulkhead helm a little further forward on the starboard side. What you also can elect to have is the, what does he call it? The Sly Fly Lounge. There's a sky lounge that you can elect to have on this vessel, which is very, very nice. The forward area, you can get factory cushions to extend your lounging space. There is no dedicated leisure cockpit up front or access through to it from the saloon. The Explocat, much like the VAAN R6, it has a beautiful forward leisure cockpit with access through from the saloon. As opposed to the VAAN R6, it has a single mid-bulkhead mounted helm on the starboard aft there. You can see it. There is no sky lounge or anything of that nature, but lots of space around the vessel and in the aft cockpit. The Portofino 52. Now, this has gone through several iterations as the folks, the Barefoot Doctors, have modified theirs. It started out with a full fly bridge and lounge. It then migrated to mid-bulkhead mounted helm, and in most of the renders does not have a fly lounge, but I have seen a fly lounge indicated, and given the customization of this right now, you can probably get a fly lounge. It does have a full dedicated leisure cockpit up front with access through the saloon, so very, very nice. And as you can see, a lot of lovely space all around the vessel as opposed to any of the others. This comes standard with a dinghy lift and a bathing platform on the aft there. And there's a ton of goodies in the way you access out of your master cabin and such that we'll explore when we do a future yacht episode on this one. But a very, very interesting yacht. Hopping now into the saloon and layout here on the main floors, the VAAN R6 has a host of different layouts, which we will have a quick look at. This is my preferred. You've got the island breaking up that massive open space, massive port side galley there. It's got to be the favorite of every chef you can imagine. A very nice settee and dinette on the port side, or on the starboard side, I'm sorry, with the access through to the front leisure cockpit, as you can see there. And then on the starboard side, you have dual access fore and aft into the hull to the separate guest areas. And then on the port side, aft, you have a single access into the owner's hull. Very nice, big, open aft cockpit. You can see that there. Lots of space. And you can just see the ease of movement you'd have up and down those weather decks up to the front area. Very, very nicely laid out. Slider 55, obviously a little smaller saloon, although by the looks of it, as big an aft cockpit. But the saloon very nicely laid out with a U-shaped galley in the aft port there, a lovely forward settee and dinette in a U-shape there with a nav desk a forward-facing nav desk to the forward port. And then again, we've mentioned the aft cockpit, very comfortable, very spacious. That would be modified depending on where your helms are. In this one, you've got the addition of those lovely aft helms, very much like the Katana tradition. And you've got lovely seats back there. I was about to say gin and tonic seats, but I guess that's a monohull term. Really, a very handsome look. I have yet to see the factory cushions for the faux front cockpit, but I'm sure they are gorgeous, as I have seen the Slider 48 at Le Grand Mott. And I have to say that their fit and finish on the inside of these is very, very nice. Over to the Explocat 52, and again, just a gorgeous vessel. This is one of my faves, definitely the way they finish it, the little touches they have, like the ventilated and heated wet closet and boot storage inside, again heated and ventilated. The layout, very, very blue water with more than a U-shaped galley there in the aft port. And then you've got your dinette forward starboard and your forward-facing nav station forward port. Full access through into the forward leisure cockpit. Just a beautiful setup. And then they've got their aft bulkhead-mounted helm on the starboard. And a very nice cockpit. Over to the Portofino 52, a huge aft cockpit area here, beautifully laid out with the extension of that swim platform, just making a monstrous space for you. Moving into the interior, beautiful galley along the port side with an island, a lovely settee and forward-facing nav, really nice, and then access through to a beautiful forward leisure cockpit. It's quite a selection. I mean, when you look across them, how do you pick? I think, there's going to be a lot of the aesthetic here that appeals to you from one to the other. But, bulletproof, all aluminum. The slider has a composite upper deck. These are really expeditionary yachts. Having a quick look deeper into the R6, this is the layout that we're currently looking at. Give you a little closer look at that. Very nicely done. Then there is this layout, which gives you a U-shaped, massive U-shaped settee on the port side with I won't call it U, I'll call it a C-shaped galley on the starboard. My only concern with this one is you have that massive open space in the middle, which is a strong point as well as a weak point. But there you have it. Next layout, here's one with even more open space because this one has a galley down. So the R6 offers a galley down version, which is very interesting. But wow, talk about open spaces. You could have a barn dance in the middle of that saloon. And then finally, here's another variation of the barn dance saloon for those who want the galley up. But here, this is the interesting one. You note that the aft doors have been moved all the way back because the cockpit is fully enclosed. So now you move your settee to the lovely relaxation, very much like a giant monohull layout in the aft there with the settee on the starboard side facing the dinette on the port side, both huge. And then you walk into what can only be described as a massive galley area, open space, and office area. So that layout can be done any number of ways where you literally enclose the entire saloon cockpit with massive opening doors in the aft, giving, space that could only be comparable to one layout of a Neil 52. It would feel like a super yacht, to say the least. Okay, let's dive into the accommodations here. So the VAAN R6, again, the renders have shifted in a way that I wasn't really thrilled about. But overall, what you've got here is the port side master's hull and very, beautiful aft, athwartship. In this case, a two-side access master, which I don't quite understand because you have the space to make it full three-side access. Then moving forward, huge storage along the inboard wall, a beautiful desk on the outboard wall, and then a palatial master's ensuite forward. Over to the passenger side, you've got those two access points now. The aft access point leads to a VIP suite with a two-side fore-aft berth. although in the renders that looks like it's moved out from the inner hull wall is to give you more access. We'll have a closer look when we do the tour. Then you head up and over to the other access, which takes you down, and as you enter on the right side, you'll see a bunk room and you'll see laundry facilities. And on the left side, you'll go forward and you'll have an athwartship berth there with sort of two-ish side access, but very nice. The Slider 55. So here we are into full-on, unapologetic butt scoot beds, very similar to Outremer and the others. A really spacious master's hull on the port side there. You can see all of the beautiful facilities you have there, as well as a massive forward master's ensuite. Over to the other side of a more typical aft VIP forward guest. Nothing really wild and woolly there. The Explocat 52, again, butt scoot beds. In the aft, your master's hull on the starboard, and your guest hull with fore aft and split twin in the forward area for your guests. The Portofino 52. So here you've got two athwartship full walkarounds. You've got then on the starboard side a forward fore aft, and on the port side you've got an aft fore aft. Both appear to be full three-side access, although that's accomplished with trimming them at angles. Then you get into, on the starboard side, the owner's bathroom suite, which I think we need another word beyond palatial. So this thing is gigantic. You've got full access out onto the sugar scoop from it. I mean, absolutely spectacular. In that same space on the port side, you have full-blown wet room, you full-blown engine room. I mean, this, as far as a palatial accommodation layout, there's nothing that touches it. It's really quite something. Having another look at what I was talking about with the shift in the VAAN R6 layouts. So again, I mean, these are incredibly expensive vessels, and I would imagine you could have any customization you want. So maybe this is just an earlier render, but certainly would be my preference. You can see the owner's suite there. In the aft, you have full three-side access, athwartship. Then you have a beautiful little settee. Next to that, you've got the desk, and forward into the ensuite. So that would definitely be my preference. Okay, let's get into the numbers and have a quick look at here. Across the top line, your least costly vessel is the Portofino 52 at about 1.5. Then it is the Slider 55 at 1.8. The Explocat at basically 1.8. And then the VAAN at 2.45. So, it's quite a wide spread. Your VAAN is a premium vessel here at a premium price. It is also the largest of the vessels. So looking across length overall, it's the VAAN at 58 feet. Then you've got the Slider at 56.4, the Garcia at 55.6, and the Portofino at 55 even. The beam on these, again, it's your VAAN with the largest beam at 29.74, basically 30 feet. Then it's going to be actually the Slider and the Garcia or the Explocat are tied at 26.9 feet wide. And the middle one is actually the Portofino at 28. So, the VAAN does offer significantly more square footage if you want to look at it that way. Looking at the draft, I could not get a draft number on the VAAN, so we'll have to guess at that one. Among the rest of them, of course, the slider is the only one that has dagger boards. So the slider definitely a much more performance-oriented aluminum hull, which is kind of cool. So it goes from 4.4 feet to 10.5 feet, which is pretty spectacular. Now, the Portofino does have retractable, I want to say centerboards, that's not the a retractable keel. And so it goes from 2.46 to 6.6 feet. And then you've got the Explocat at 4.92. So overall, the one with the least draft is definitely the Portofino at a 2.4 foot minimum versus the slider at 4.4 foot minimum. And we're not really sure on the VAAN R6. Bridge deck clearance, did have this for the van. It's a healthy 3.1 feet on the slider, an equally healthy 3 feet. And looking at light ship displacement, this is very, very interesting. The least of the bunch is the slider at 34,613 pounds or 15.7 tons. 15.7 tons for a 55-foot aluminum vessel is pretty darn good, but that is because it's hybrid with that composite deck. As we look across the others, it's going to be, much of the same and based on size. So the smallest vessel here is the Portofino at 55, and it is 40,785 pounds or 18.5 tons. The next one is the Garcia, and it's at 41,006 pounds or 18.6 tons. And the heaviest being the van, the largest, at 47,400 or 21.5 tons. Upwind sail area to drive all this aluminum forward. The leader here is the lightest, and that is the slider at 2,368 square feet or 220 square meters of upwind sail area. That's healthy. The next one is going to be the van with 1,884 square feet. Then it's by a hair, the Garcia at 1,798, and then the Portofino at 1,744. Looking at engines here, the van is all electric. So it has a twin 25 kilowatt electric motors, and of course a massive battery bank to support that. The slider is interesting. It is a hybrid. It has two 57 horsepower diesel and two 20 kilowatt electric. Very, very interesting. The Garcia is twin 60s and the Portofino is twin 80s, but as we know on the Portofino, you can get that hybrid. Yes, you can get the hybrid. Now, on tankage, unfortunately, I was not able to get anything from VAAN on the tankage on the R6 as yet. On the rest of them, it is, there's not a lot to choose from here. I mean, overall, Slider probably has it simply because they have 1,000 liters of both and 400 of Blackwater. The Portofino has 1,200 of diesel, 800 of water, and 440 of Blackwater. And the Garcia has 1,173 of diesel, 660 of water, and 150 Blackwater. And again, if you can beat on your manufacturers and your brokers to get manufacturers to start publishing the data that we all would like: interior square footage, exterior usable square footage, interior enclosed storage, exterior locker space volume, and total fridge, total freezer capacity. The only manufacturer who does this consistently now is Balance, and they offer everything right on all of their main yachts up to the 526. But here, Slider is the best of the bunch. Interior area is 517 square feet. Exterior area is 549 square feet. and their fridge capacity is 232 liters and freezer is 144 liters. On the Garcia, we've got 190 liters of fridge and 180 liters of freezer. Okay, getting into where the rubber hits the road. They're all aluminum. Some of them list the type of aluminum, such as Portofino. It's a 5083. And the slider lists the grade of aluminum, which is a 5052 on the hull. And then carbon fiber superstructure, sandwich core, high-density composite foam, and all of that is on the upper area, and aluminum carbon fiber bulkheads. So slider really does give a lot of detail on their structural format here. Very nice. System voltages, wasn't a lot of information here. Battery bank, the slider, we've got a 30 kilowatt hour as standard and 50 kilowatt hour as optional. The van's going to have a huge bank similar to that or bigger just based on its pure electric. The Explocat, the battery bank here is a 6 kilowatt hour. Of course, it's a traditional diesel drive. And the max solar on the Explocat is 2.275 kilowatts. On the slider, it's a whopping 5 kilowatts. And then over on the Portofino, we show a maximum battery capacity of 40 kilowatt hours of lithium. Down into performance indicators. So sail area to displacement, or an indicator of power. It is the slider by a long shot at 35.6, which the next closest one is over 11 below at 24.1. Then it's the, and that's the Garcia, and then it's the Portofino at 23.5 and the van at 23 even. Looking at displacement to hull length of the waterline or indicators of heaviness, here it's lowest number wins, and again it is the slider by a long shot at 93.9. The next closest, which is a surprise, is the van at 108.5. So, given the size of that vessel, pretty good. Then it is the Garcia at 136 in the Portofino, very close there at 137.3. Okay, the number we all look for. And here is a surprise for you. The slider on the KSP number, which is indicative of theoretical speed at 10 knots of wind, shows 97% of wind speed. This is an aluminum performance cruiser with performance. 97% of wind speed. That is a heck of a number. The others very similar and right where you would think they would be, although still, doing extremely well as they're all above 70%. The next best is the VAAN R6 at 76%. Then the Garcia, 1% behind at 75%, and the Portofino at 1% behind at 74%. So, nothing to sneeze at between the lower three, but that slider really makes you sit up and take notice. If what you see here gets you thinking about purchasing a yacht, please mention the channel to the manufacturer or broker. I love hearing from viewers that their dream purchase may have started here, and who knows, the mention might just get me invited on a test sail or two. If you don't have a contact at your target yacht brand, feel free to drop me a line at dave@navalgazing@campdavid.com, and I'd be happy and thrilled to connect you with the right person. Of course, if you're enjoying the content, please take a moment to hit the subscribe button, then share the channel with a couple of friends and hit the like button. It's free, and it really helps the channel. You can also join our crew on Patreon, where you can enjoy ad-free viewing as well as downloads of the Excel specifications and PowerPoint layout comparisons, while helping the channel for a few dollars a month. You can find a link to the Naval Gazing at Camp David Patreon channel in the description below, where you can also click to receive information on some really cool virtual sailing training. hopping aboard. What would Sylvia say? Well, I think she'd really like this. This is an elegant vessel. It's a handsome vessel. It's very Dutch. Beautiful aesthetic to it. Beautiful design lines, very purposeful in every angle. This is the layout that we're going to look at with the galley and island and then the two access on the starboard side. And we're first going to go into the aft area where you can see these lovely aft helms. Now, this particular render is showing you the full liveaboard version that encloses the aft cockpit area. But it does give you a very nice look at the helm stations, where you'd be helming the vessel from, that very distinctive, again, very katana-like central winch station you have here that makes the V of VAAN. And there it is in real life, just to give you a sense of it. Okay, our naval gazing session today is all about sea drive. Sea drive pods are torpedo-type pods, profiled and made entirely of bronze, a material that's not very sensitive to electrolysis issues. Sea drive pods are able to make a 240-degree turn in order to offer, in hydrogeneration mode, the best possible performance on sailboats. This interesting feature allows these pods to be equipped when mounted on sailboats with folding propellers that offer a very limited drag in pure sailing, but that turned 180 degrees optimize the hydrogeneration. A hydrogeneration that reaches 4,000 watts at 13.5 knots, a very respectable figure for a pod of 7.5 kilowatts. And that's comparable to a sail drive servoprop of about 15 kilowatts, twice as powerful, and which suggests extraordinary performance of the 15 kilowatt version. In terms of maneuverability, the steerable pod combined with a joystick offers possibilities unknown to a single engine sailboat or motorboat, allowing it to turn in circles on the spot, as would a twin engine with one of its engines engaged forward and the other aft. For now, only the 7.5 kilowatt pod is being marketed, with the 15 kilowatt announced for the second quarter of 2023 and the 30 kilowatt for the end of the year. Sea Drive is not an obscure little startup, but a player now industrial that makes its own pods, probably the best designed and finished in the world of boating. A Sea Drive 7.5 kilowatt pod with azimuth and controls is about €12,000, ex-Works Norway. Back on board, we're in the aft cockpit here looking around, and as you can see, lots of open space, a very airy environment, and the touches like the overhang, the canopy overhang in the aft here really do break up what would be very rigid lines. You've got that lovely arch with the brushed aluminum and the VAAN etched into it. All of the decking is cork. So again, a focus on environmental friendly. You can see the beautiful indirect lighting at the base of everything, including the cockpit area here, as well as on into the saloon. Lovely wide opening saloon areas here that we'll wander into. And there's that beautiful island. As you can see, you've got so much space in the beam of this thing that even with the island, you've got a wide open space in the center that leads right into that forward leisure cockpit. Now, this is a real vessel. This is an R5, but I wanted to give you a sense of the look and feel of the finish in what the R6 will be. So very, very similar to the renders. You can see right there that the armrest on the settee is that beautiful, again, brushed aluminum. It's almost like the arch on a Porsche Targa. It's so cool. And it's little touches like that you'll see throughout the vessel. You can see you do have skylights so that you can check the trim of your sail while you're in here. And then you have that beautiful forward cockpit and access through. You also have a forward facing nav area there. But what a gigantic galley. Can you imagine the meals you can cook up for your crew there? We're going to head down into the starboard hull here. We'll give you a sense of where we are. This is the owner's hull, as you can see here. And we're going to come down the stairs here and have a peek around into the owner's berth. Now, as you can see, this is the version where the bed is butted up against the aft wall. So you have two-sided access, which I'm not sure why. I would far prefer to have that pulled out. But wow, your headroom and the sense of airiness in this and the sense of space, the light from the ports, beautifully done. Again, I'd prefer if that was walk around on that opposite side. But there you have it. Here's the layout that I saw before with the full walk around. But they have changed that up on the published layouts. Again, this is a multi-million-dollar yacht, so I'm quite sure that you can have a certain level of customization here. Beautiful pocket doors giving you your privacy, leading into an absolutely gorgeous private office area. Again, with a lot of light from those beautiful hull windows, lots of storage on the inner hull wall. We're looking at it now from the bow, and you can see lots of light from your overhead hatches. Again, lovely pocket doors, maximizing use of space, and you have an absolutely palatial forward ensuite for the master. Lots of light and ventilation above, a almost Phil Berman-sized forward shower there, and lovely port windows in the outside hull here. Again, your finishes all very natural, very soft, very comfortable, very modern hotel-esque, if you will. Very, very, very nicely done. And your finishes in the bathroom, or the head here, sorry, with the lovely Corian, and then your cord veneers on your drawer areas here. We'll just take another glance around, and then we'll head up the hall and go up and across. So here we are back in the aft area, and up the stairs we go into the saloon. And another look around the saloon here, looking forward. And then we're going to head onto the starboard, down the starboard aft access way to your VIP suite in the aft here. So again, three-side access up against the aft wall with your ensuite forward midships. But look at the space you have here. Absolutely gorgeous. Now, in this render, it looks like it's full three-side access. So again, you know, renders and the layouts right now, this vessel is a future yacht. It's not splashed yet, so nothing set in stone. But my goodness, look at those beautiful veneers on the inner wall, the soft hues and colors, and the flooring that they're using here. Beautiful use of pocket doors, maximizing openness and space, and a lovely ensuite forward there for your VIP guests. We're going to head up and forward on the same side in the same hull. And there's your forward access there ahead of the settee. And down we go. And here we are again on the passenger side, the starboard side. You're going to turn, you can see as you come down the stairs there, we're looking from the very forward VIP suite here. You have a sort of a single bottom access, a thwartship with a very, very lovely shower forward and shared head in the middle. lots of ventilation above, lovely hull windows, lots of lovely lighting. Really, really nicely executed here. It is a butt scoot athwartship, but it's nicely done. And you can see as you come forward, you've got a head just at the bottom of the stairs, which can also be used as a day head. So that's really nice. And you've got your laundry facilities here. And now you've got your bunk room that is to the right as you come down the companionway. But again, because of the height of the ceilings and the width of the hulls, man, especially that upper bunk, would you ever feel comfortable? Massive hull, a port window there, beautiful ventilation above your head. I wouldn't mind either one of those bunks. Absolutely, beautifully executed in every way. A very, very high-end, very high-level production, Porsche-ish feel to the whole thing, if I can use those words. So again, having a quick look around here, you can see the look and the feel and the sense of this. Very open, very natural. Backing away, you can see that beautiful brushed aluminum arch. The lovely helm position on this is aft and exposed, but I really personally like it. The stairs head up to your side decks, your weather decks. You can see they're quite wide, lots of space there. It's again, a handsome-looking vessel, very Dutch. And your helm position, you've got great visibility of your sails, great connection with the ocean. It is, they like to say it's a sailboat built for sailors. And I would say that's an accurate description. They also have those lovely powered furling head sails and the power furling boom furler, which I really like. So, it's not all blood and guts sailing on this thing. It's it is meant for comfort, speed, and durability. You can go anywhere. Okay, pre-owned comparables. What are we going to compare this to today? Well, our first one, I just want to reiterate again, our comparison is done based on the theoretical sail-away price of our future yacht, which in this case is determined by base price plus 50%. It's not always dead accurate, but on 90% of the full quotes I do out, it is within 5%. So in this case, our VAAN R6 has a sail away of about $4 million USD, $3,945,000 USD. And we are comparing that right now. So a brand new R6 at about $4 million. We are comparing it here to a 4-year-old McConaughey MC60. They are, and it's predominantly carbon. It does have the retractable keels. Quite an interesting boat. 4 years old. They're asking $2.5 million, which seems like a screaming deal for this. I'm wondering if I've got a fractional ownership boat here, but that's what it says here. Obviously, in this case, I'd probably take the McConaughey. Next up, we are looking at a Bally 5.4, 56-foot vessel. We're comparing it to our $4 million sail away on the VAAN. So they're asking $1.5 million on this. Now, admittedly, I got people jumping up and down looking at the screen right now saying it's not comparable. For my purposes, it is comparable to a degree. We're looking at a 2-year-old, 55-foot, 54-foot, 56-foot, vessel with loads and loads of features. 1.5 million. For my purposes, unfortunately, I'd have to do the Bally. Next up, we've got a 3-year-old Neisna 550 Flybridge, an absolutely gorgeous vessel, full vinyl ester hull, exquisite finish on the inside. They're asking 1.8 US for this versus 4 million sail away on the van. I'd have to do the Neisner. Next up, we are looking at a 6-year-old Sunreef 60. They are asking $3 million. The van on this would win hands down. I know there are people going, oh, but the feeling of luxury and inside the Sunreef, yeah, but the van actually sails by itself. I'm sorry, I don't think of the Sunreef as anything other than a massive luxury vessel. It makes a lagoon look light. And the eco stuff, that's cute, but holy macaroni, you can't have eco if wind hardly blows the thing along. So this one, I would take the van in a heartbeat. Finally, we're looking at a 2020 4-year-old Fountain Peugeot 58. Again, very different vessel, but certainly a beautiful vessel. They're looking at 1.8. I'd have to do the Fountain. And I totally get the quality delta between a VAAN R6 and a Fountain Peugeot 58. I completely get it. But for my application, I couldn't justify, the $2.2 million delta on it. Okay, so we've identified that the van is very capable and very specific vessel that will appeal to certain people, and this price isn't going to matter. For my application, the van beat out one of the 5. Okay, monohull heresy. What are we going to compare this to on monohulls? Bearing in mind that we add a good 20% to the length of the comparable catamaran to get something that is really properly comparable in a monohull. So first up, we are looking at a 2018 Baltic, and it's an 85. They're asking $7.8 million. I'm afraid I would go with my R6. Next up, we are looking at a 2019 Nader Swan, a 5-year-old 78-foot Nader Swan. They're asking $7 million versus our $4 million for our R6. Sorry, I'll do the R6. Next up, we are looking at a 2021, a 3-year-old C&B 76. They're asking $3.1 million. I'll take the new R6. I'd spend the extra. And finally, this one is hard to beat, an Oyster 825. Oh my goodness. I love oysters. It's a 5-year-old boat. They're asking $4 million versus $4 million. I'd take the Oyster. It's just too pretty. It's just too pretty. Okay, there we are. Now into the Dave score. How did she do? There we are, down, down, down. And there she is about mid-pack, which is about what I'd expect. So how does that ramp up? So we're looking here. The R6 is surrounded by a privilege 510 on one side. A wave 50 down a little ways. We've got Halberg Rassi 57. It's in good company. So the R6 Elegance, I went with 7. It's a very a Nordic minimalist and not completely to my taste. So it's a 7 out of 10. Elegance on the exterior, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. It's a very handsome vessel. Comfort, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. I mean, you got loads of space, that beautiful front leisure cockpit, really nicely done. Exterior, 8 out of 10 for all of the same reasons. Performance, solid 7 out of 10. I don't think I could squeeze 8 out of that. Lazy Sailor, 8 out of 10. Everything comes back to the helms. Condo, definite 8 out of 10. Geek, 8 out of 10. It's got some cool geeky features, and the whole aluminum electric drive thing really turns my crank. Value for the money, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10, which isn't bad for a $4 million yacht. So there you have it. That's our Waves, Wine, Art, and Ideas for one more week, and we're diving into some aluminum behemoths here. So I do hope you enjoy it. These are pretty exceptional vessels, and we'll look at the others in some detail coming up. Hope you've enjoyed it. We'll see you next week. I leave you with Undergrowth with Two Figures from 1890. Vincent van Gogh. Given the Dutch nature of our drink, the Dutch nature of our boat, it only seemed reasonable to have Vincent van Gogh, especially given the name of our vessel. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.